Everyone's got that one bolt-action rifle they swear by, until it kicks like a mule, costs more to feed than their truck, and doesn't group worth a damn past the third shot. We've all been there, starting at a spec sheet thinking we're buying the next legendary tack driver, only to realize we've paid a premium for a headache with a nice Cerakote. So why do so many hunters keep getting suckered in? In this video, we'll talk about the 6 most overrated bolt-action rifles on the market today. Guns that get worshipped for their looks, brand, or big game buzzwords, but fall apart when you actually run them hard in the field. We'll talk about the Weatherby Mark V Accumark that costs more to shoot than your monthly grocery bill, the Christensen Arms Ridgeline that can't hold zero once it heats up, and even the venerable Remington 700. Yes, that model 700. It just isn't what it used to be. Let's get into it. Number 1. Weatherby Mark V Accumark. First rifle on the chopping block is the Mark V Accumark, Weatherby's flagship precision meets field rig. When you unbox an Accumark, you can't help admiring the deep fluting, the hand-laid fiberglass stock, and that instantly recognizable 9-lug action that Weatherby claims locks up like Fort Knox. With an MSRP hovering between $2,100 and $2,300, the Accumark automatically signals serious hunter the moment it comes out of a scabbard. That 9-lug bolt has an incredibly short 54-degree throw, one of the slickest feelings you'll ever get cycling live rounds at the range. The trigger comes from the factory adjusted at a crisp 3 pounds. In calm conditions, on a bench, with premium ammunition and a good rest, mine will stack bullets inside an inch at 100. But here's what the brochure doesn't mention. Pushing 257, 300, or 338 Weatherby loads at the blistering speeds this action encourages produces recoil that borders on punishing from a hunting position, especially in the lighter 7 3/4 pound versions. Sure, you can thread on a break, but when you're that guy rattling eardrums next door at the public range while the blast shoves dust into every crack of your spotting scope. The ammunition cost? Expect $85 to $120 a box for factory Weatherby ammo. Even if you hand load, virgin Weatherby hand-stamped brass is more than $2 a pop. Chasing the velocity edge also means your barrel throat erodes quickly. Some shooters start chasing accuracy after fewer than 800 rounds. The 9-lug bolt feels beautiful, but those lugs require the chamber to be cut with absolute concentric perfection. I've personally seen 3 Accumarks that would not extract cleanly after a long day of blowing dust because a single grain got under one of those tiny lugs. Strip the bolt in camp, and you'll discover a set of parts that don't exactly fall into your hand the way a traditional 2-lug bolt does. Last, the gun weighs nearly 9 pounds once you add a 30mm optic and bottom metal. Haul that to 12,000 feet for a week, and you'll wish you'd have saved 1.5 pounds by choosing something less glamorous. So yes, the Accumark is accurate, classy, and undeniably Weatherby. It's also loud, pricey to feed, maintenance intensive, and heavier than the Western hunting influencers and glossy catalogs like to confess. In my eyes, that makes it an icon that sells fizzle first and steak second. Exactly why it deserves a slot on this overrated list. Number 2. Remington 700. If one rifle owns the title of American legend, it's the Remington 700. More military and law enforcement marksmen have trained behind a 700 action than any other bolt gun, and every basement machinist in the country seems to make an aftermarket part for it. You can buy a 700 in everything from a 222 Remington to 338 Lapua, and in normal times you'll spot new SPS models on sale for $699. That kind of market saturation breeds unquestioned loyalty. The older models earned it. Look at the early 1970s BDL. Slick bolt, gorgeous walnut, bluing you could shave in. Accuracy right out of the box, often with factory green box core lock. And the action is a tinkerer's dream. Dual opposed lugs, enclosed bolt face, plunger ejector, 2 small screws to pop out of the trigger. Gunsmiths have turned 700 receivers into bench rest hammers that set world records, and tactical crowds still praise the footprint for chassis compatibility. But the modern 700? Post-2010 rifles emerged from Ilion with chatter marks in the chambers, crooked recoil lugs, and bolts that felt like someone poured sand into the rails. Cost-cutting hit hardwood fitment so hard that you could fling playing cards through the barrel channels. Then there was the notorious Accumark Pro trigger recall. Millions of rifles, decades of court cases. Brand confidence cratered. Remington Outdoor filed Chapter 11 twice, and every time the new parent company promised this run will be different. Some truly are excellent. Others exhibit bolt handles, silver soldered at slight angles, making scope clearance a guessing game. To turn a modern budget SPS into the tack driver of internet lore, you end up spending real money. Drop the action into a $400 aluminum-bedded stock, buy a $250 aftermarket trigger, true the bolt face for $150, maybe pin the recoil lug. Suddenly, that affordable rifle costs the same as a premium Savage Elite or Bagheera Premier that shoots sub-MOA out of the box. Good luck if you need factory service. Rim Arms will eventually answer the phone, but they aren't overnighting parts like they did in the heyday. But buying a new production 700 because your grandfather's BDL was perfect feels like ordering a 2023 muscle car solely on the reputation of a 69 Chevelle. Nostalgia is powerful. It's just not a ballistic advantage. Number 3. Browning X-Bolt. Next up is the X-Bolt, the evolution of Browning's A-Bolt line. The sales pitch checks every modern hunter's box. 60-degree bolt lift for scope clearance, an adjustable feather trigger that breaks between 3 and 5 pounds, rotary detachable magazines that fit flush, and weight that dips under 7 pounds in many trims. Street price depends on the variant. You'll see a composite Stalker at around $1,050, while a carbon-barreled Speed goes for $1,699. Cycle the bolt and you'll feel that Teflon-coated smoothness Browning fans gush about. Open the mag with one hand and cartridges pop out in a polite arc instead of spewing on the ground. Fit and finish rarely disappoint. The Cerakote looks like it belongs on a rifle twice the cost, and the stocks have a tasteful surface texture. I've hunted with guys who swear their Hell's Canyon Speed groups 143 grain ELDX into bug holes after a single trip to the range. It's easy to see why new shooters gravitate towards the X-Bolt when they want an upgrade from a budget Ruger American. Here's the catch. That sweet rotary magazine is proprietary, $50 a piece, and not exactly sold at the corner hardware store when you misplace one on day 3 of elk camp. Try single loading at the bench and you'll discover the top of the action is closed. You're forced to slide rounds through the ejection port at odd angles. The aluminum scope mounting pattern is unique too, so standard 700 or 70 bases won't work. Browning offers its own integrated system that looks elegant, but if you break a ring on a trip, you better hope the nearest shop stocks X-Bolt parts. Barrel attachment uses a torqued barrel nut hidden beneath the stock. It's economical for assembly, yet it precludes simple pre-fit barrel swaps since the shank threads differ from anything else. Aftermarket support in general is thin. Want a Timney trigger? Nope. Chassis stock? Very few options. Even bedding the action becomes tricky because the recoil lug is part of the receiver and slopes forward, complicating any attempt to add pillars or skim bed. I've also met more than one owner chasing vertical stringing after the 4th shot from a cold hammer-forged barrel that whips like a tuning fork once warmed. In short, the X-Bolt is a stylish, accurate, feature-rich rifle as long as you never need parts, never drop a mag, and never decide to customize beyond what Browning envisioned. Hunters who like to tweak gear or who travel far from a UPS hub may discover the rifle's sleek lines hide a prison of proprietary pieces. That's why I leave mine in the safe when the trip is truly remote. Number 4. Ruger Precision Rifle in .338 Lapua Magnum. Ruger shook the precision world in 2015 by releasing an affordable, chassis-equipped bolt gun that printed half-inch groups without the wallet pain of a full custom. Then the company supersized the idea, chambering the platform in .338 Lapua Magnum. On paper, you get a budget-friendly 1,600-yard hammer with an MSRP of $24.99, folding stock, AR-style grip, and barrel change flexibility that rivals switch barrel rigs triple the price. Shooters praise the RPR for its user-adjustable trigger, threaded muzzle ready for breaks or cans, and compatibility with AI magazines. The folding stock lets you shorten the overall length for transport, and the 26-inch cold hammer-forged barrel comes with respectable rifling. Right out of the box, my sample printed 1.1-inch 5-shot groups at 300 yards with Hornady 285 grain ELDM. For a rifle that costs less than most Lapua barrels alone, those numbers impress. Then reality arrives in the form of scale. This cannon weighs 15.2 pounds before optic or bipod. Add a big first focal plane scope in a one-piece mount and a Harris, and you're north of 20 pounds. Hump that across a Wyoming prairie dog town, and you'll feel like you borrowed a mortar from the National Guard. Lapua recoil is legitimately stout, and while the effective factory break helps, concussive blast batters anyone within 10 yards. Many public ranges forbid break use under covered benches, leaving you to soak up the kick or stay home. Feeding is finicky too. Those AI-patterned mags need extended followers to reach the 30-38's cartridge overall length, and rounds sometimes snag on the feed ramp unless you slam the bolt home with your knuckles. The RPR's bolt throw is long, thanks to a 90-degree lift, and the cam feels gritty, pushing that giant case. Worst of all, Lapua ammunition costs between $6 and $8 per trigger pull. Burning out the barrel, something that can happen in under 1,500 rounds if you're chasing high-note pressures, means you'll have hemorrhaged enough cash to buy a custom 6.5 Creedmoor and the glass to top it. Ruger markets the RPR Lapua as a budget sniper platform, but few folks bother hauling a 20-pound rig through timber. Meanwhile, anyone shooting from benches could achieve the same ballistics curve with a lighter custom built on a Remington action. Number 5. Christensen Arms Ridgeline. Every Western gear list these days seems to include a Christensen Ridgeline, carbon-wrapped barrel, spot-stippled carbon stock, limb saver, and sub-MOA guarantee on the hang tag. Base price sits at around $2,300, though a titanium Ridgeline FFT pushes $3,000. In return, you carry a rifle that weighs 6 pounds even in long action, 300 Win Mag trim with a crisp TriggerTech trigger and spiral fluted bolt that feels like polished glass. I bought the 7mm rim mag version because I wanted a lightweight rig that could handle elk above timberline. First impression at the range was pure joy. The break-in process ended with a 3-shot cluster measuring 0.7 inches. That's the dream scenario carbon barrel evangelists preach. And the field carry is sublime. Sling the rifle all day, and your shoulders wonder if you forgot something back at camp. Stay for a longer range session, though, and clouds roll in. As heat builds, you'll watch groups walk, then 2, then shot 7 lands a full 6 inches high. Christensen says this is normal as the carbon warms and cools at different rates than the steel one. Maybe so, but normal shouldn't mean unpredictable. Heat mirage off a wrapped barrel can distort your sight picture through a suppressor cover. Try reshooting 20 minutes later, and your cold bore impact shifts again, leaving you second-guessing zeros the night before a hunt. Quality control stories are piling up. I've witnessed ejectors so stiff they left brass halfway extracted, bolts with galling on the rear raceway, and bedding jobs where the recoil lug imprint was visible only on one side. When frustrated owners call customer service, tales circulate of long lead times, and technicians blaming accuracy woes on the shooter skipping Christensen's 20 screwed-down carefully barreled season ritual. One friend received his rifle back with a note suggesting he switched from 190-grain Accubons to 150-grain TTSX for sub-MOA results. That may mask a wandering barrel, but it doesn't cure it. You're also paying a carbon premium. A comparably priced steel-barreled Bergara Wilderness HMR is heavier, sure, but it won't string shots after 3 rounds, and the warranty team answers in days, not weeks. Number 6. CZ550 Safari Magnum in 375 H&H Magnum. Lastly, let's talk about the CZ550 Safari Magnum. Every hunter who has daydreamed about Africa knows the image. A sun-bleached Land Cruiser, an old Mauser action, and the venerable 375 H&H waiting in the scabbard. The Safari Magnum keeps that fantasy alive with its massive controlled round feed bolt, push-button floor plate, iron sights you can see at dusk, and a 5+1 magazine. Back when CZ discontinued U.S. importation, you could find new rifles for $1,599. On the used market, they're now bringing $1,800 or more. Cycle the bolt and you hear the authoritative scrape of a real Magnum extractor claw. The 375 pushes a 300-grain bullet at 2,550 feet per second, making 4,300 foot-pounds at the muzzle, and the rifle weighs just north of 9 pounds to soak up that energy. If buff, bongo, or elephant fill your bucket list, A CZ550 in .375 is a reliable ticket. But take that same rig on a North American elk hunt, and the romance fades. 9 pounds bare becomes 11 with scope and rings. Add a sling and 6 cartridges, and you're lugging nearly 12. In steep country, that weight taxes lungs you should be saving for the shot. The .375's recoil, in the 50 foot-pounds range, pushes many hunters into flinch territory, and optics struggle to maintain eye relief under that shove. At the bench, you'll burn through a $50 box of Federal Cape Shock in under 10 minutes and walk away rubbing a bruised collarbone. Even reloading isn't cheap. Brass hovers near $3 per case, and a 300-grain Swift A-frame bullet costs nearly $1.70 each. Run the math on a 100-round practice session, and you could have paid entry fees for a 3D archery shoot, bought gas to the range, and still afford a steak dinner. Then there's the niche rifle problem. Because the 550 Safari is built on an extended Magnum receiver, aftermarket stocks or chassis are non-existent. If the factory pillar bedding compresses, your gunsmith will have to custom mill new pillars or cross bolts. For the handful of hunters who punch a dangerous game tag every other season, the CZ550 Safari is a trustworthy tool. For the rest of us chasing mule deer and bear in the lower 48, it's an anchor with nostalgia baked in. So there you have it. 6 bolt guns that promise the moon but deliver mixed results in the real world. Maybe you've owned one of these and had a totally different experience. Let us know in the comments. While you're down there, hit like, share this video with your hunting buddies, and don't forget to subscribe and click the bell icon so you don't miss the next deep dive. Thanks for watching.